Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to talk about some more gaming related controversies and really the effect that appealing to the modern audience can have for the success of your game. We can see many different titles here having a very difficult time bringing in players, and a lot of these, quite frankly, deserve what's happening to them. Let's begin with this game right here, Concord by Firewalk Studios. So a lot of people have been talking about this game, especially as it transitions into its open beta. And as you can see reported by That Park Place here, they are having a very tough time. They're having very disappointing numbers in general, but actually the number of concurrent players has decreased as the open beta went live, which is even more concerning when you consider the fact this is going to be a $40 game. So what's going to happen when people actually have to pay to play this game? The numbers are going to be even worse. On top of that, games journalists are panicking because this is an arguably woke game, as we'll see in a minute. And whenever games like this start to flop, the games journalists out there get very nervous. You can see this title right here saying, nobody is wishlisting Concord on Steam. Oh geez, I wonder why. Is it the shoddy gameplay or is it the terrible character designs? Like, are you kidding me? In the year 2024, this is what your characters are going to look like in Concord. I know every the game journalists out there will call you every ist and phobe out there for disliking these character designs, but come on. These are absolute trash, and everyone who's trying to be somewhat honest about this conversation knows just how bad these look. And on top of that, there's a lot of weird stuff going on involving the team over at Firewalk Studios. You can see right here the principal game designer. They are private currently, and a lot of people are pointing out some potentially odd things about this individual. So right here, reported by Smash JT, they say this: Firewalk Studios, the studio behind the impending Concord flop, has a serious set of internal issues. One of their devs, Lisa Brown, aka Wordle, came out as non-binary and forced everyone at the company to call her Professor. She would regularly have meetings with cheesy phrases like teaching/learning with the professor. She pushed extreme politics, hated guns, and wanted unvaxxed staff fired. This is a part of why Concord is such a delusional mess. Now, we can see right here that, yes, there are people who work at the studio calling them the professor, which is embarrassing. But anyways, let's move on to another member of their team who's under fire right now. This is the senior concept artist at Firewalk Studios. And as reported by Vera Dark here, they have a history of going after not just gamers, but some particular people like Mark Kern. I mean, basically every person in the gaming industry, especially on the woke side of the gaming industry, has it out for Mark Kern. They say that Grums, aka Mark Kern, is just a sad and terrible person, in that his rhetoric is dangerous, and referring to a situation right here where he's asking questions about the Dr. Disrespect situation as the details were being revealed, but they still claim that his rhetoric is dangerous just in general about video games. And on top of that, you can see this right here, which will be very important for the next minute or two. They say this: Silent Hill 2 is my favorite game of all time, and right-wing fans complaining about the way Angela looks in the remake is telling. We are talking about a character who is a SA/incest victim. Victims like this often gain weight to cover up as much as possible. You don't even have to ever argue with those people. They tell on themselves immediately. These right-wingers are showing they do not care about anything below surface level, and are unable to understand the media they consume. So another person in the gaming industry dismissing all criticism of the product of right-wingers, okay? It's ridiculous. And it starts to make a lot more sense when you realize they're the same person responsible for these character designs in Concord, and they're also the person responsible for the design of the Silent Hill 2 remake. This is a remake made many years after this original Silent Hill 2 product. What is happening? How do things continue to downgrade so hard? But all of this makes sense when you realize the type of mentality that these people have, and it makes even more sense when you realize that Silent Hill 2 and their team at Bloober Team is making this horror classic for a modern audience. The language is explicit. They actually say the key phrase, the modern audience, which we all know is code word for a bunch of woke nonsense. And once again, it is killing another game. It's killing the mentality of these studios. And look at the products that are coming out. They're absolutely horrible. Now, moving on from one active flop at Concord to a very established flop over at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, we have some more details coming out about this game, which was an absolute failure for Warner Bros., costing them $200 million in revenue. This was a terrible, terrible blow, and not surprising because it was a Sweet Baby Inc. product. Now, things aren't looking good. It's been many months since this game came out in February, and you can see the active players here. It is hard to look at for a live service game with a massive budget. Having only a few hundred active players at any given time is really, really bad. And recently, I guess there's been some movement over at their team trying to shock some life into this franchise, and it's not working out too well. So as reported once again by That Park Place here, you can read this title. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's lesbian Mrs. Freeze Season 2 update bombs with players. Game has lost 95% of its players since February. That's how bad those numbers are. The numbers were never good. Back in February, the numbers weren't good. They were still a disappointment. But consider that and how it's down 95% since then. That's how bad the state of affairs are. But what are we talking about with these reboots here? Well, there's a couple new Mrs. Freeze skins in the game here. You can click on any of these. You know they're going to be absolutely eye bleach inducing. But this one right here is probably the most ridiculous pandering I have seen in some time. The Pride Outfit Pack. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, a game for the modern audience. Behold, are you not buying this game already? Do you not want to spend your money on this skin? Doesn't it look fantastic? Well, yeah, a lot of people are seeing the very obvious conclusion in front of us. There's a reason nobody's buying these games. There's a reason nobody's playing these games. It's because of ridiculous pandering and woke agenda being injected in every single facet of a game. But let's move on to a different topic here. Mark Kern, once again, sharing some information about a very puzzling set of developments involving a Guardian game journalist, in quotes, where they are sharing some really just blatantly false information about the team behind Black Myth Wukong. So we talked about this game and its development team a few months ago, where there was a rumor where the devs claimed that they rejected a $7 million, in their words, extortion from DI consultants, including Sweet Baby Inc. Now, a lot of people saw that and rallied behind this studio in the game, which already looked very promising to begin with. But because of the terrible reputation that Sweet Baby has, any studio that stands up to these consulting firms is already winning the favor of a lot of gamers across the world. And also, conveniently, as that reportedly happened where they rejected this consulting fee, somehow, suspiciously, a bunch of articles started popping up claiming that the studio behind Black Myth Wukong Game Science is a sexist company where there's all kinds of sexism allegations flying around. And IGN was the biggest one behind these attempts at misinformation. And we already talked about this, but it's been proven that these allegations were based on a mistranslation, a blatant mistranslation. If you've seen some of the translations, it's so bad, you have to think it's manufactured. Like someone intentionally did this with no regard. It wasn't an attempt to accurately translate anything. It was a hit job to try to slander this development team at Game Science. Now we return right here to the focus of Mark Kern's post from the other day, talking about this journalist named Tom Reagan, who has worked with IGN, Kotaku, and other people who have shared this bit of slander about that development team at Game Science. But for Guardian, they wrote this article where they say, I recently played the beautiful and satisfying Black Myth Wukong, a game with the potential to be one of the year's best. Yet instead of leaving its demo elated after a bizarre interview, I walked away disappointed with the people who made it. it's amazing that this game must be so good that even the people trying to bring it down can't deny that it's a good game to begin with. So that's pretty promising. If you wanna see some really high praise, you can claim even the woke journalists say it's a good game, but they try to stop it by once again spreading the myth that this game and its development team has sexism allegations against them. And this is the same group of people at IGN, and this reporter works for Guardian and IGN, who are trying to spread this narrative. And here it is once again in this Guardian article here, where they are trying to say that there's these sexist comments that they believe are from multiple developers, and that they have remained silent and not answered any of their questions. Why would they answer any of your questions? You are making up false allegations against their company. You're trying to hurt their reputation maliciously. Why would they ever give you the time of day and actually respond to your nonsense? That is the only sensible thing to do in this situation. Honestly, you should be happy they're not responding with a lawsuit or anything like that. So I think silence is the better route here. But once again, Black Myth Wukong has many hit pieces against it by woke journalists, and this is just another one. But like I said, hey, at least they confirm it must be a really good game and something to be excited about when it releases later this year. Now, let's move on from this to our final development involving Blizzard. What's Blizzard been up to recently? Let's read this report from PC Gamer. Blizzard Men's Rift with Whoopi Goldberg at Whoopi Goldberg themed weed event as Diablo 4's Lilith presents Star with Key to Hell. Anyways, alright, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. We had multiple topics to go over today, all involving the gaming industry. So, as always, feel free to share your thoughts about today's topics in the comments section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.